We love ghost stories. We can't get enough of them. So much so, we've collected the most frightening tales from around the web for your pleasure. So turn down the lights and prepare to be scared by some of the most terrifying true life ghost stories. Laughter in the middle of the night. When I was a child, I lived in an old Victorian house, and I would always hear laughing while I was trying to sleep. I was an only child with a single mother, and I was about 5 to 6. I would wake up hearing laughter in the hallway in the middle of the night. After mentioning this to my mom, she swore it was probably just the TV being left on late. One night, I awoke hearing the laughter in my room. I went to sit up, but felt like there was someone holding my shoulders down, invisible hands gripping into my shoulders while I heard laughter. I screamed my little heart out. My mom ran into the room, flicking on the bedside lamp, convincing me that it was just a dream, until I said, but my shoulders hurt. She lifted up my t-shirt, and there was 2 adult-sized handprints on my shoulders. I honestly thought that I had imagined it, and that it never happened. But the other day, I mentioned it passing to my mom, and she went blanket white and said, I don't want to remember that. I was never outside. This isn't my story, so it takes away from the horror factor a bit, but it's from a good friend that I know doesn't make shit up. His story happens when he was about 8. He was playing hide and seek with his friend in his house. It was late, probably about 10ish. It's my friend's turn to find his friend. He's looking everywhere around the house, but he can't seem to find him anywhere. He eventually decides that he must be hiding outside, so he leaves the house to find him. He starts searching around some bushes when he hears his friend's voice coming from a dark corner maybe 20 feet away. The voice calls for him to come over. He didn't, because he was already spooked out enough being outside in the pitch black. My friend yelled back, "No, you come over here." That's when he said it really started to get spooky. He told me the voice that sounded just like his friend kept insisting they come over to the dark corner. My friend kept saying no over and over again. At this point, he said the voice suddenly changed to a dark, horrible sounding voice demanding he come over. At this point, he ran back inside, only to see his friend in the living room. When questioned how he got inside so fast, the friend said he never went outside. Now, I know both of these two guys. None of them make up shit, and I doubt it's the case of an imagination gone wild. Whatever that voice was, it still spooks me just imagining about this story. The farmer. My mother-in-law was a funny and very cool woman. She and my wife were really close, and sadly, she passed away when our son was about 4 months old. Flash forward a few years. We live in an old 1930s era craftsman house in Pasadena, California. Our son is about 3 at the time. I was giving her a bath one night and he starts looking over my shoulder. Not at random stuff, but at something. A moment passes, and he asks me why Grandma calls Mommy a funny name. Long pause. I asked him what he meant, thinking he was talking about my mom. He then says, why does Grandma call Mommy Cranberry, my mother-in-law's nickname for my wife? I was really set back by this. My wife and I never used the nickname. It was just what her mom called her since he was a baby. I asked him where he heard that. His reply, the farmer told me. I asked him who the farmer was, and he replied, my friend. I tell my wife about this story later, and she's of course reduced to tears over the whole nickname thing. We both know there is no way for him to know this, and we just kind of marvel at it. Flash forward to the next weekend, and my son is playing in his room. My wife is at work, and I'm at home. I hear him start talking like he's having a conversation. He's saying things like yes and no. I don't know that, and then some laughing. I go into his room and ask him what he's doing, and he says playing. I ask with who? He says the farmer. At this point, I'm already thinking about the fucking Exorcist movie and Captain Howdy. It's a little unsettling. I ask him where the farmer is. He says he left when I came in. The fuck? So my wife gets on and I tell her this, and now she is weirded out as I am. A few days later, in the middle of the night, we both overhear our son saying the following. Grandma says you and I can't be friends anymore. My wife and I go check on him. Both of us a little freaked out. He's just sitting up in bed. I ask if he's okay, and he says yeah. Grandma says I can't play with the farmer anymore. He never once mentioned the farmer again. Not ever. He's 13 now, and doesn't remember any of it. We do though. The Lost Visit. Our elderly neighbor fell sick and had to go to the hospital. Her niece asked us to take care of her dog while she was away. So after school, work, and dinner and all, me and my brother were sent over to make sure he was doing okay. So it was late at night in this weird old lady's house. My brother was in the shed with the dog, and I was in the living room looking at the creepy old photos in the mantelpiece. What follows is true. I heard the door creak, and then a woman's voice called out the dog's name. I freaked out, turned around. Obviously, there was nobody about. I thought maybe it was the neighbor's niece, but it had that weird, did I hear that outside my head or inside it echo to it? So I also thought I was letting the creepy house get to me. But then, I went out to my brother and Noki, and he was freaking out too, because he thought he heard a woman's voice inside the shed with them saying, "Oh, there you are." We both agreed the voice had that weird in your head sound to it, and were convinced there were ghosts in the place. We left the dog in the shed, went home, and were greeted by Dad, who told us the neighbor's niece had just called to say the neighbor passed away in the hospital a few hours ago. The uninvited visitor. I'd like to share my story that brought about my belief in ghosts. When I was about 15, I was homesick from school. I live in a large house with 2 floors and an unfinished basement. In the basement, I had set up a craft room for painting and staging Warhammer figures in what was once a photographer's dark room. It was noon, and my stepdad often came home for lunch. So when I heard the telltale sounds of the front door opening, I figured that I'd call my mother and let her know he was home and tell her I was feeling better. As I dialed the phone, I listened to him close the door with a slam and walk through the foyer into the kitchen and turn on the tap directly above the craft room. My mom picked up the phone at work, and I told her that Kay, my stepdad, was home for lunch. She told me that he wasn't going home for lunch, that he was really busy at the office. I froze in terror as the tap was shut off and the person upstairs walked back through the foyer and up the stairs to the bedrooms. My mother told me to hide while she called Kay, minutes away, to come home. I crept upstairs, quiet as a mouse, and grabbed the largest kitchen knife, then back into the basement to hide. Kay was home about 6 minutes later. He scoured the house and found no one, but I never heard them leave. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this dark side of Top 10 Countdowns. Please, turn on your lights. I know you guys are having nightmares right now, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Quentin Gooden. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. I'll see you guys next week. If you guys are wondering why I haven't uploaded last week, I was doing a project for my teacher, Top 10 Countdown style. So, if you guys want me to upload that, post down in the comments.